Maybe I'll like it. I don't care much for YouTube, but maybe I'll love this.
Getting our mounts at 40 and engineering. So today, the primary focus is dungeons, dungeons, and lots of dungeons. By the way, I've realized that I hate these 3-minute prologues, so let's cut to the chase and stop beating around the bush. We activate the altar of the keepers and summon the stone men. When you kill each one, they blow up. So any seasoned WoW veteran will hide behind the pillars. Personally, I chose to face tank every explosion, take aggro on the last mob, get our whole party wiped, and report Staya for toxicity when he called me bad. Then, we may have wiped again after someone riled up a mob of dark dwarves, after which, and you wouldn't believe this, we wiped yet again. The way I see things, no one's really to blame, we're all equally at fault here. With all our might, we activate the Altar of Arcadeus, and I gotta be honest, this is probably the coolest boss thus far. Alderman is a sick dungeon, both thematically and in the sense that you need a sick sense of humor to design this fight. Arcadeus slowly summons these tiny useless stonemen one by one, and then suddenly when you expected the least, 2 giant elite mobs zoom in and altercate our experience for the worse. After walking a moderate distance, to be ganked right in front of the entrance to the dungeon by a stun-locking rogue, leading us to walk yet another moderate distance, it appears that the mobs have all respawned, and it is for this very reason that World of Warcraft is by bastards and for fuckers. Anyways, this is how you're supposed to complete the fight. You actually don't attack him, you just drag him all the way upstairs. That way it'll take ages for the elite mobs to reach you, and you can defeat Arcadeus in the meantime, as they say. They don't say that.
Morons in Marduk.
You better believe I started questing in Feralas. This zone is cool as fuck. In fact, let me tell you about it. Basically, what happened is that in Feralas, I made the executive decision to say, man, fuck this shit. We're gonna do another dungeon. I teamed up with some players I met during a robot chicken escort mission
I'm gonna
in
pause for a sec.
Tanaris.
I'm gonna pause for a sec. So, a lot of this is coming back to me, the memories of classic leveling and whatnot. At one point, World PvP began, and you had to kill low levels. Or actually, you kill higher levels. It's better to. But you also killed low levels. But low levels were only worth honor once you were level 48. I'm assuming that he's leveling slow as shit. And he's not going to be max level by the time World PvP begins. And he's about to get butt fucked.
Along with my now level 60 friend Larry, our party was fucking stacked. Merely 5 minutes into Zul'Farrak, I acquired the best in slot gloves for my level. Ka-ching!
Oh, that's huge.
We rob some graves and fuck up some zombies. Then walk up this giant flight of stairs and execute the executioner. Free the caged folks, and now begins the kerfuffle. In this really dope segment that, unlike most of the game, doesn't just feel like standing and hitting, we defeat hordes of enemies, and after a drawn-out, hard-fought battle, we emerge victorious. At which point the people we saved betray us. Bastards. We make quick work of them and move on to kill Uzlu and Ukor's Sandscalp. Watch out for the snakes. Finally, we reach the end of Zul'Farrak, where Garzilla emerges from the water, and with absolute conviction, we smite him from this plane of existence.
Nice.
Our group was admittedly a well-oiled machine. Individually, we were fingers, but together we had joined to become a hand. There was not a single hiccup, and it was easily one of the cleanest dungeon runs thus far. All my party being mega overleveled probably helped, but I digress. Now, why did I go through the trouble of traveling to the southernmost tip of Kalimdor? Because by completing the Garzilla quest, I'm granted the carrot on a stick, which lets me move
I
3%
still don't have
faster
that.
whilst mounted.
But yeah, I do,
Vanilla
never mind.
WoW is monotonous and 15 years old, so I made the executive decision to diminish the game's lifespan. Then, these trained World of Warcraft professionals taught me about a secret jump. There's one single pixel that'll allow you to get on the cage in Gadget Zan, leaving you just out of range of the Gadget Zan bruisers, meaning you're free to attack the Horde players with theoretically no repercussions. That is until the spot is taken over by these fine gentlemen who showed me how it's really done. After dying to some pirates, I left Teneris. Then, I yet again made the mistake of exploring new lands in search of quests. I made my way from Duskwood through Deadwind Pass, landing me in the Swamp of Sorrows. A name I would come to find accurately describes the state of affairs around these parts. Although the WoW Wiki said it was appropriate for my level, there's barely any quests here. The only noteworthy thing was a giant sunken temple, which happened to have a Horde player on it who rudely informed me that I shouldn't be in this godforsaken place. With all my armor now in the red and my Hearthstone on cooldown, I made the journey back to Duskwood, where I repaired my armor and flew to Menethil Harbor, where I met up with Larry, who taught me how to use macros. I made one single macro to switch into Berserker stance and activate Berserker Rage, then decided that I fundamentally had the optimal setup. By the way, check out this glory shot of me and my tiger. God, I'm sick at this game. Anyways, I leveled my engineering to artisan level and crafted a handful of useful tools. You see, in WoW your character has 2 trinket slots, and at the expense of a moderate amount of gold, engineers get access to devices that can circumstantially be incredibly useful.
So you get the
I
death ray?
made the Gnomish Shrink Ray, which makes my enemy tiny and weak, the Netomatic Projector, which captures my enemy in a net, and the
Dog.
Parachute Cape that'll allow me to access
net's
unintended
gonna
areas
backfire.
and get banned by Blizzard.
Guaranteed.
These bothersome furries came up to me and bothered me. They kept asking all these questions and all this stuff. However, Larry made
He
them
is
disappear by layering me. Always a G. Larry and I started a fight pit outside Ironforge, but I had an ace up my sleeve. An ultimate move, if you will. If we're speaking in metaphors, which we are, I suppose you could say I had one in the chamber. I was going to lure my opponent outside of the ring and trap him with my net, letting me win the duel even if I'm way lower level and under-geared. Sadly, the net backfired
Yep,
and I
there it is.
captured myself, leaving me at the mercy of an absolute whooping. I'd had enough of PvP and ran Alderman again with this role-playing dwarf who would type Drinky every time he sat down to drink. We nailed the whole dungeon without a single mistake, and Drinky was an absolute fucking god at this game. He taught me how to use the rasp emote. I then won the roll for the treasure chest, landing me a pair of completely trash bracers that I would go on to vendor for close to no monetary gain. To summarize about 10 hours of my life, even with PvP trinkets, free action potions, and a level advantage, I still don't beat mages 1v1 in world
You
PvP.
never fucking
I
will.
also still don't know if I'm enough of a man to level to a point where I'd have fair grounds on which to review WoW Classic. And yes, I still ninja loot chests without rolling for them. It's worth it, I'm telling you. I make off like a bandit. Then I made a tailor turn my Mageweave cloth into Mageweave Bolt, at which point Rashmak approached me with a dubious offer, with materials that I could purchase in the auction house for what I would describe as a compromising monetary setback. He would enchant my fiery war axe with a fiery enchant, making it a fiery war axe. Do you know how powerful that makes me? I fucking love this game, man. I know it's a bit of a circle jerk, but despite all its flaws, this game is genuinely rewarding. At times. But all these negligible pieces of information are benign compared to what I'm about to tell you. A few days later is the very moment in time where
That's
I
a lot
would
of
cross
strength.
paths with my soon-to-be new WoW GF. I met Emiri in Stranglethorn Vale. She'd been mailing me for weeks and had finally managed to find me. Considering the solo warrior leveling experience, she was a godsend. Together we completed nearly every single quest in Stranglethorn. After which we got E-smashed at 6 a.m. What the fuck am I doing with my life? In an excited delirium, I decided to ditch Elizabeth for being disloyal and low level. It's entirely unacceptable that she has a real life, and that she's not actively carrying me through the game. It was cute while it lasted, boys.
Fuck is this fucking
video.
Emiri, on the other hand, now that's a bangin' WoW GF, let me tell ya. Whenever I don't log on for a week or two, I get worry letters in my mailbox. Whenever I do log in or go anywhere, she immediately appears next to me, ready to fight for my life or die trying. Always bringing gifts in form of potions and elixirs, for she is an alchemist. Did I mention she loves killing horde players, and she called Larry a boomer for not revealing his age? She's perfect. Prior to this, Larry was my only real comrade in Azeroth. Now,
Oh my
there
God.
were two. Some would find it creepy that I'm logged in for less than 2 seconds before the DM lands. Jonathan, where have you been? Did you get my message? But I see this as the very level of dedication necessary to be a top shelf certified S+ 5-star WoW GF. Now I could talk about the Halloween event, how we got these horrendous dwarf masks, about how I ran Zul'Farrak again with a group of skeletons, but honestly, all those tales are benign compared to our journey to Moradon.
They're gonna die repeatedly. No.
Now, experienced WoW players,
It's more
but to
than
be honest,
standing and hitting.
may look at that and think to themselves, Moonglade, Winterspring, and Feralas. What in God's name does any of those places have to do with Moradon? Well, allow me to explain how I well and truly shit the bed and made a crucial mistake. Now I'll up and admit it. I fucking hated the mid-level 40 grind as a warrior. It basically boiled down to inefficiently questing in Teneris and Stranglethorn Vale, or running Zul'Farrak and Alderman. No matter how you look at it, it's just cookie clicker with extra steps. So I was ecstatic to reach level 46, cause that meant I could run Moradon. I wanted to make sure to pick up all the quests for the dungeon, so I looked them up on the WoW wiki. Many of them can be picked up in Desolace, but there was one that I had to travel quite far for. I flew to Menethil Harbor and sailed to Darkshore, from where I went down into Ashenvale, the southeast London of Azeroth. From there, I went onwards up into Felwood. You see, I had my
He really
eyes
is getting
set
every
on
quest.
Moonglade, where I'd pick up the final Moradon quest. I run past this quest marker with perfect focus, knowing full well that it's more efficient to stay on the task at hand than do every quest I see. When I reach the Furbolg stronghold,
Oh,
I'm
no.
humbled yet again. It turns out that by default, I'm at war with the Furbolgs. Considering I can't even manage to fight any single one of them, clearly I'd have to find another way into Moonglade. Emiri
Death
joins
Run it.
up with me, and being the perfect WoW GF that she is, she informs me that to ally with the Furbolg, I'd need to grind reputation. Funny enough, wouldn't you believe it? That's absolutely the quest I ran past earlier. By the way, grinding rep in vanilla WoW is very rewarding. It basically boils down, it's very complex, but it basically boils down to killing the same enemy over and over and over again. So now
Yeah,
we start
Chad, I
doing the
remember farming
Furbolg's
this
dirty
shit.
work, and apparently the only way to become friends with these savages is to win a territorial land war with their enemies. Are we even the good guys at this point, or is this indeed what weak cowards would describe as morally abrupt? I'm sure the lore told us, but let's be real, I installed Questy a long time ago. Fuck reading every quest in this game. In about an hour's time, we managed to go from hostile to unfriendly, granting us safe passage through the stronghold. This was where my crucial misstep started dawning on me. You see, Questy showed absolutely no quest signs anywhere in Moonglade. After a quick double take on the WoW wiki, it turns out this is where the quest ends. It starts in Desolace. As a new player, finding this out was very disappointing. You see, every single other dungeon, bar none, has got their quests spread all over Azeroth. And for whatever reason, the only dungeon where I truly bothered to pick up every single quest and traveled, mind you, literally halfway across the world, is the one dungeon that conveniently has all the quests in the same place, right next to the dungeon. Oh boy, alright. Going here may have been foolish, but it was intelligent compared to my next move. You see, I boldly presumed that Moonglade doesn't have a flight path, seeing as the flight master I found was only for druids. Taking the Hearthstone would also be inefficient as it's set in Ironforge, which is quite far from Desolace where we're headed. Emiri and I ride all the way back to the Furbolg stronghold and make our way through the endgame zone Winterspring. When we finally reach the flight path, I get yet another taste of the delicious first-time WoW player experience. You see, I didn't have any connecting flight paths to Winterspring, and therefore I wasn't able to fly anywhere. As it turns out, I'm laughing, there is a flight path in Moonglade that's actually required to fly from Winterspring. It just happens to be in a random location out in the woods that no one would randomly run into. So I go all the way back to Moonglade and pick up said flight path, then fly to Desolace where I meet up with Emiri. And the best part was that at 5 AM, our odds of getting a party for Moradon were close to null. So I humbly come to terms with the fact that I spent an entire night getting 2 flight paths and some reputation, then begrudgingly turn off my computer. The day after, though, I rose to the occasion and finally started playing with my guildies. You see, our old guild, who shan't not be named, had merged with a couple other guilds to form Prevenge, the deadliest fucking group of lethal Azeroth assassins on the planet. It's actually hella sick to be part of an active guild that actually has their shit together. I even went on Discord with my fellow degenerates throughout our Moradon crusade.
I don't look disgusting, man. I look fucking cool, man.
Mate, you look like a virgin.
Hey, man, shut up.
The vast majority of our communications does not fit within the advertiser guidelines, so it has been cut from the video. What you need to know is that Moradon is a fantastic dungeon, and Prevenge is absolutely the best guild on EU Noggenfogger, perhaps with the exception of buying GF. But that's neither here nor there.
Wait, why is he playing
If
on
the
EU?
people I normally team up with for dungeons are irredeemable bastards who are lowly intelligent at best, then my Prevenge guildies are Azeroth guerrilla soldiers.
European?
They're fucking raid-hardened World of Warcraft
He is?
primates. They got this shit on lock. We basically zoom through the dungeon to Princess Theradris. Watch out for the deadly farts.
Could have fooled me.
And watch out, she throws a rock. Whoa!
Whoa.
We kill her in hopes of getting me the Blackstone Ring, which is undisputedly the best ring warriors can wear until several content
I sold
updates
those.
come out. After Theradris,
That's
we
how I
jump
made my
down and
money.
kill Rodgrip to try and finesse the Albino Croc scale boots for Emiri, who by the way was very loyal when my guildies made advances. After Rodgrip, we turn our party into a raid party so we can effectively reset the dungeon by logging out and back in. These people knew their shit. We ran the dungeon a handful of times and got me the Blackstone Ring, an absolute powerhouse of an item. Then I asked my experienced,
Did he loot that mace too?
wonderful, erratic, temperamental, assertive.
Sorry. Hang on. I'm autistic. I also noticed that mace
Stone
dropped.
Ring, an absolute powerhouse
If I don't see him wearing this, I'm going to freak out.
of an item. Then I asked my experienced, wonderful, erratic, temperamental, assertive, bangin' WoW GF to show me the world. As per the ancient rituals, the bonding is not complete before she takes me on a journey. When she took me to Don Moreau, I began to suspect that this was a ripoff of the Wetlands run, but I should have known that my trust was far from misplaced. She brought me through the Valley of Kings to a menacing locked gate that leads to the Searing Gorge. To get the key, one would have to undertake a trilogy of quests, but Emiri is goddamn perfect. She's mastered lockpicking and is able to lockpick the massive gate, allowing us to ride headfirst into the Searing Gorge, a zone I had only been able to observe from the air, a zone that had always intrigued me, a zone that is absolutely ruthless and filled with horde players, many of which
Wait,
have
what level is he?
evidently forgotten to take their ADHD medication. We weren't gonna take it lying down though. The second we saw Nut Buddy, we jumped him. They feared me, leaving me incapacitated, able to only watch them beat up my WoW GF whilst I cowered in fear. Extremely disrespectful. When they killed Amiri, it invoked my primal fucking hatred. With pure skill and
Big click.
absolute determination, I
Big crit.
crit Nut Buddy twice, ending his measly existence. His friend Bang Doi slows me and flees like the weak coward he is. He clearly
Berserker
didn't
stance.
get the memo that at level
Intercept.
47, I'm a goddamn expert at this game. I use my macro to switch into Berserker stance, letting me intercept his cowardice. With a
Hamstring, you
clean
fucking
double
monkey.
proc from my fiery war axe,
works.
I stood victorious. And you better believe we camped their corpses. God, I'm glad I picked Night Elf. Stealth, front flips, you move really fast every time you die, a fucking tiger for a mount. Anyone not picking this race are clearly on the wrong side of history. Speaking of being on the wrong side of history, this cunt shamelessly took us out even though he had nothing to do with our kerfuffle. The fact that I would go on to forgive Bang Doi and quest on in peace is a testament to how good of a fucking person I am. We went on to let a guy out of a locked bathroom. I question how we ended up in that predicament in the first place, but when I get over 5,000 XP for little to no work, I don't ask any questions.
Oh, he's level
I just
48.
take the progress, turn around, and walk away. This is how you play World of Warcraft. You leave your trusted companion to die so you can loot the scroll for the quest. Get hit with a regularly occurring 20-second polymorph. Once you finally break out of said spell, you focus on what's truly important, the goddamn quest. With your priorities in order, you nearly complete the quest, but get interrupted once more. Then die to the mobs that you could have probably killed had you worked together. Finally, you undergo the Walk of Shame. We went back to Ironforge to sell some shit, stock up on food, potions, and to level up my abilities, which, to be honest, I forgot was even a part of the game. Emiri vowed to be my personal alchemist. I got my boy sending me godlike weapons, and my girl brewing me potions. My situation is godlike, and most WoW players are not this lucky. She even made
Is
me
the mace
homemade
49?
cheese. It was delicious. We teamed up with Larry on his second character, which made me feel a little bit iffy about my own progress. Not just had he leveled his gnome warrior to 60, he was also approaching my level on a paladin. Granted, it's the easiest class to play in the game. It's basically an Azeroth RuneScape simulator. If there's one class which is actually just standing and hitting, then that class would be paladin. Speaking of the patented stand and hit gameplay, I'll concede that I was wrong. Vanilla WoW is not just standing and hitting. You can also jump. That's a whole element that I left out in my previous statements, and I can see now that there's a whole dimension of gameplay that I had overlooked. Anyways, I quested with Larry and Amiri in the Searing Gorge. We summoned this dragon. I gotta be honest, it's been over 100 hours of game time since I followed the plotline of this game. I have no idea who this dragon is, or what he does. For all I know, he could be the final
neither.
boss, or maybe he's our friend. All I know is I don't ask any questions. I take the XP and walk away. I would go on to jump in the lava and die. Naturally, my comrades jumped in as well to make me feel better. It goes back to the age-old saying, if your friends jumped off a bridge, would you do it? Well, if you want to be a top-shelf certified 5-star WoW GF, the answer is yes. No hesitation. With haste. Immediately. We then farmed Incendosaurus for XP, finished off a bunch of quests, and then traveled to Stranglethorn Vale to take a shot at the arena chest.
they're not winning.
Not just is there potentially spoils of battle, but if you actually spent countless hours to loot it and get the Arena Master 12 times, you can turn them in for the Arena Grandmaster Trinket, which is actually half decent.
It's
Game,
insane.
man. The moment the chest spawns, I greed for it, only to be fumbled by a priest with his cursed spells. I have no idea what they do, but they interrupted my looting. It didn't matter though, cause being a group at the arena is so scummy. Having 2 bodyguards skanking on my behalf, I managed to loot
That's
the
a
chest,
big gouge.
aka the authentic Asmongold experience, and I make off like a bandit.
Yo, that
To
GF
celebrate
owns.
our absolute victory, we decided to sail out for adventure. Sadly, with my brainlet, lukewarm IQ, and absolute piss-poor hand-eye coordination, I fall off the boat. When it takes off, most people would be surprised to find out that I have access to forbidden knowledge. I merge with the boat and start frivolously skipping across the water. You fools! You underestimated my power all along! I'm unstoppable! Look at the technique, the grace, the dignity. All this time, I faked being
Does this
a
work?
really bad beginner at this game, when deep down, at the very core of my being, I was actually the greatest of all time, a true legend, of Azeroth. I'm actually the fucking champion is what I'm telling you. Do you feel my sheer fucking energy? The spring in my step, the glint in my eye, the fire in my belly. What do you take me for? A goddamn fucking casual? No, I'm the greatest! La forma final! And then I load into Kalimdor, losing all my momentum. Incredibly unfortunate. Along with me, my ego was buried at sea. I had dreamed of a glorious death in battle, with demons, gods, or even drawing my last breath killing horde players. Yet in my final moments, I'm cold, alone, and I have no one to blame but myself. Moral of the story? Fucking trash, 15-year-old game. You can't even boat skip.
No.
Literally unplayable.
I wouldn't be surprised if even at this point in the game, and I will be blown away. Not really blown away. I just won't be surprised if he doesn't know there's an auto run key binding. I hate YouTube and I hate everyone.